Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international war-wearing author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and even been endorsed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple Music, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies. Makes great gifts 24/7 for family, friends, and loved ones. Go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also cool merchandise, T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Check it out today. I'll support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, the Mike Wagner Show, and you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com and click on the Mike Wagner Show. And make sure you donate today and we can use some coffee. We're here with a terrific gentleman who is a San Francisco-based singer-songwriter with a jazz-infused progressive folk sound, which is whimsy, cinematic, and uniquely takes on the heart and madness of the existential. So we'll talk about that. He's also leader of Tux with Pants, and he's a local Bay Area musician and a big influence. He's also been in various circuits, hosted the EG Fest. He's had numerous singles out like the Fish song, the Albatross song, Water of the Mark, and more as well too. And then he got also a brand new song out called Brave Heart Luna, and a new album he's talking about, Alien from an Alternate Earth. We'll talk about that along with Fish from the Sky, At Home at Sea, and more. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios on the beautiful side of the bay, the multi-talented singer-songwriter from San Francisco, ladies and gentlemen, along with Ducks with Pants, E.G. Phillips. E.G., good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's great to have you on board as well, too. And I love the title with your band, and we'll get to that. You're a San Francisco-based singer-songwriter with a jazz-infused progressive folk sound, which is whimsy, cinematical, and unique take on the heart and madness of existence. We'll talk about that. And, of course, you're also leader of Ducks with Pants, and you're a local Bay Area influencer with been in various circuits, and you also hosted the EG Fest. You got a lot of singles out, like the Fish song, the Albatross song, and also Fish from the Sky, At Home at Sea, Nashville Recordings Volume 1, and more. And, of course, your other releases, Till We Have Faces Again, the Octopus song, This Infertile Valley. And you have a new single that's going to be out soon, Brave Heart Luna, and it's from the upcoming album, Alien from an Alternate Earth. We'll talk about that. And before we get into that, EG, tell us how I first got started.
How did I first get started? Well, I've always had a fondness for music. I had the copy of Peter and the Wolf that we wore the grooves out of on the record when I was a kid, and got heavily into the Beatles when I was in high school based on my parents' record collection.
Wow.
As well as Tom Lehrer, of course, the 60s comedian who did political satire, who had a big influence on my stage presence. Then once I got into college, somebody introduced me to Bob Dylan, and I picked up the guitar. And, as soon as I started playing guitar, I was really more interested in creating my own songs.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also very shy about it. I spent a lot of time doing MIDI compositions that I sort of kept to myself and was very reluctant to share with people. It wasn't until about maybe 7 years ago I decided I would make a go at it in terms of performing at open mics and really start promoting the music and, actually finishing songs and that sort of thing. So I'm a late bloomer as far as all of that goes. But, I have a love for writing. I've always liked to write, even before I could actually write. I was doing these illustrations with speech bubbles that I would have my parents fill in the text for, and I was working on these long, winding fantasy novel type of
Oh,
things. But I've
hmm.
sort of settled on the song as my chosen art form, because I also really like playing around with the harmonic stuff and different harmonic progressions. And I think that's what drew me to jazz, which I started also getting into in college. I was living near a record shop called Positively 4th Street,
Mhm.
obviously a Dylan reference. But I
Mhm.
decided, I'm going to take a stab at listening to this jazz stuff. So I picked up a copy of Kind of Blue by Miles Davis and started going to jazz concerts. And that has also had a big effect on how I think about music. And although it's not typical, a lot of people like Bob Dylan, a lot of people like Miles Davis, they like them together, but I'm probably one of the few who's decided that he is going to try and combine the two, and so use less than typical progressions that you might find in folk music as far as chords and so forth, and have that, as I call it, jazz infused folk.
Hmm. That's really interesting. You talked about Miles Davis being one of the influences. What are your thoughts on his masterpiece, Bitches Brew?
I mean, it's that jazz fusion stuff, and it's all very jammy. And I love the Wayne Shorter composition "Sanctuary." I actually was treated to a live rendition of it when I went to a jazz festival in Perugia, Italy.
Oh,
I saw
wow.
him, and he did a whole set, which was basically just playing "Sanctuary" for half an hour. Um,
Wow.
so I the fusion stuff, it's cool. I think there's a lot of different periods of Miles's repertoire, from the early stuff in the 1950s, and then that mid 60s second quintet, which is sort of out there, and it's all sort of leading up to that fantastical um, continuous stream of sound that you get with John McLaughlin and guitar, and Joe Zawinul and the keys there. So I like it all. I think it's all interesting, and it's one of those things. It's I think when you listen to the album, you'll see there are these different influences. I've got that cool jazz sound on the Octopus song, got the big band sound on Braveheart Luna, and then there's the bossa nova tune and stuff that's just a little bit different, a little spacier, uh, more ethereal. So um, I like to sort of mix it all together. And certainly Bitches Brew is one of those seminal albums. You listen to it and it just sort of captivates you.
Hmm. It sounds like it too. And who are some of our other favorite jazz artists growing up besides Miles Davis and the others you've mentioned?
Well, certainly Duke Ellington. I mean, he has that suave persona and this just wonderful orchestral arrangements that's, very different than your typical big band stuff. And Charles Mingus too, just because he's got this wild personality and music that has all these different influences. He was very influenced by Duke as well, but then there's all the bluesy components that you have. And of course, there's, John Coltrane and Bill Evans. Um, more modern singers or more modern folks like Melody Gardot and Esperanza Spalding are folks I'm a real fan of. I call them
Hmm.
my pretend girlfriends. And,
Don't we all?
and of course, there's um, the first jazz concert I ever went to was a fellow named James Carter, who was then a very young gun at the time, still around, still blowing his tenor and baritone sax. And of course, there's the Bad Plus, who is, billed themselves as the world's loudest jazz piano trio and did lots of covers of things like Smells Like Teen Spirit. Brad Meldau, he does these wonderful interpretations of with the works of Nick Drake and Radiohead. So, lots of jazz. I spent, the early 2000s, instead of listening to what was current, I would be going through the bin at Virgin Megastore, seeing what Blue Note records I could find that were on sale.
Oh my gosh. And of course, another legend I thought of is Felonious Monk. Your thoughts on him?
Oh, Monk is awesome. I mean, he's got such lovely little tunes like Panonica, and just those records he did with Charlie Rouse. Great stuff. His interpretations of Duke are lovely. Yeah, he's got personality. You look at the way he plays the piano. He's got these like splayed fingers. It's kind of crazy, but it all works. And there's this sort of contours to his music that are a little more, shall I say, jagged or almost cubist in a way. But yeah, I have a lot of Monk recordings. I still have all my CDs. I don't really listen to them so much. They're just sort of collecting dust in the hallway, but they're a good measure of my influences as far as here's the big Mingus section, here's the big Monk section, here's all the Miles Davis.
Sounds like a record store you're going to. I think you should open a record shop. I'll be glad to go through the collection. And who are some other favorite artists and singers and musicians growing up besides the ones in jazz?
So I mentioned the Beatles and Bob Dylan. There's of course other singer-songwriter types like Neil Young and Leonard Cohen, Frank Zappa, of course. There's that rock and jazz influence going on, especially like his mid albums, like starting with Hot Rats and the Grand Wazoo, that really have that jazz influence going on. And stuff that was a little more contemporary to me, like the Replacements and REM. Those sorts of bands were interesting to me. But as I said, I sort of fell into this world of jazz and got very immersed in that. So I would say 70% of the collection is jazz and maybe 20% is rock, singer-songwriters, the Joni Mitchells of the world as well. And then there's a lot of classical music, as lots of Chopin and that crowd, as Tom Baer would say.
And of course, you'll put that all together as well, too. We'll talk about some of your singles, your albums, and being the leader of Ducks with Pants. We'll get to that in just 1 minute. But first, to listen to the Mike Widener Show at the MikeWidenerShow.com, powered by SonicWeb Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget, SonicWeb Studios is the answer. SonicWeb Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. It's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Widener Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Widener Show, international war-winning author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and enjoyed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Widener Show at the MikeWidenerShow.com on over 30 podcast platforms. You can take the Mike Widener Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Widener Show on the YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Widener Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books like Missing, Once and Wrinkles, also t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, throw pillows, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Check it out today. Also support the Mike Widener Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWidenerShow.com. You can also buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com at the Mike Widener Show. Make sure you do so today. I'll be glad to have a little cup of coffee with you. We're here with San Francisco-based singer-songwriter E.G. Phillips here on the Mike Widener Show, and talked about his many influences in jazz and a little bit of folk and everything else. And he's also got a little band out there before we segue into his music, Ducks with Pants. And tell us about that. And how'd you come up with the title Ducks with Pants? That sounds amazing.
Well, Ducks with Pants, it's sort of a novel marketing concept. It is what I call a fake band. So I am the sole proprietor and the last sole member of Ducks with Pants. And the brainchild of it was really, I'm very interested in language. I think when you listen to my lyrics, you'll see that I have a great love for language and words. And there are certain words that have this sort of inherent funny quality to them. There used to be the vaudeville comedian Joe Penner, who became famous for his line, "Wanna buy a duck?" And the story goes that he tried that with a lot of other things as part of his act. but it was "Wanna Buy a Duck" that got the biggest laugh. So duck is this sort of inherently funny word, and pants has a similar quality. And I was sort of thinking to myself at one point, what happens if you combine two inherently funny words? Does it become exponentially funny?
Hmm.
And as I was, this is about the time I was started to go to open mics, and I was sketching in my little notebook, and I was sitting across from a fellow singer songwriter who I just met at the time. We didn't really know each other. His name is Sean Byron. We've since become pretty tight. In fact, he recorded one of my songs, "The Lighthouse at the End of the World," for
Oh,
what his
wow.
debut album. But I was sort of at, you're at open mic, you're sort of spending a lot of time waiting to go on yourself. So I was amusing myself by sort of picturing what Ducks with Pants would look like if I illustrated it, and at the same time trying to make Sean laugh, which of course you don't really want to do because you don't want to interrupt the other performers. But he was getting a kick out of my variations. Like, I had the Beatles crossing the street as ducks and they were carrying pants, and then I had a version of the Rolling Stone album, "Sticky Fingers," but with sticky feathers. And the ducks were coming out of the zipper of the pants, so it was.
Oh my God, you make me quack up. I gotta say that you're quacking me up.
But it's overall, it's sort of, like I say, a canard. It's, I'm a singer, I'm a solo performer for the most part, but I do like, when I go into the studio, imagining I have this band that is a part of the whole ensemble that's making the record. And there has been an actual edition of Ducks with Pants. At one point, I was the feature for an open mic, and given the fact it was in a bar, it's kind of, I should have a real band with me so people pay attention. And we did another gig after that, but then I discovered actually having a band has the disadvantages of you have to keep it together. So the fake band works out a lot better in the long run.
Hmm. That's rather interesting too. I also noticed on your website you have like all kinds of paintings with ducks.
Yeah, I haven't done as much painting recently as I'd like, but it's been, something I like to do is mess around with the acrylics, and a large part of my oeuvre is ducks with pants, not necessarily in them. This is very important. There are multiple ducks with the pants, not necessarily in them, which turns out to be a saving grace, believe it or not. But it does give you some other artistic possibilities, such as the pants can be hanging a clothesline in the background, or they can be absconding with the pants, as they were with the Abbey Road illustration that I did that later did become a painting. So and it is certainly something that other people have latched on to. And I got a friend of mine who was at one point an open mic host, and then also played on my album and played as part of the EG Fest show. We can talk about that a bit. But he's also a gifted illustrator, and he has done the illustrations for the latest upcoming album and all the singles. And he has gone to town with, incorporating the duck aspect. So
Oh my gosh. I mean, that is just amazing. Now, I'm going to throw this question out there. Have you ever owned a duck before, or do you currently own any ducks?
I do not have that level of affinity for duck. I have many rubber ducks. As part of the EG Fest celebrations, I will acquire rubber duckies that have a theme to them: rock and roll rubber duckies, mermaid and pirate rubber duckies for when we were at the Hotel Utah, because they have a mermaid. It has this ship nautical theme at this bar. It's a sort of a dive bar, very famous in San Francisco for its open mic. And then for the most recent edition of this birthday show I put on, where other people come and perform my songs and serenade me with my own works for the purpose of my birthday. The theme was blue, because I
Oh
just
my
found some
gosh.
blue rubber duckies, and it actually worked out well, because the venue, which is called Bazaar Cafe, which is a local little coffee shop out in the west edge of the city, in an area called the Richmond District. They had changed owners, and they'd swapped out the paint job, and one of the themes was blue, so that worked out very well.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That certainly did work out well. And you also had some singles out as well, too. And when mixing with albums, of course, you got the Fish song, the Albatross song. You also got Fish from the Sky, At Home at Sea, Nashville Recordings, Volume 1. And of course, you got the Bossa Nova. And you also got the album coming out soon, Alien from an Alternate Earth, featuring Braveheart Luna, Till We Have Faces Again, the Octopus song, This Infertile Valley. And tell us about some of the songs, what you put out, and what inspired you to write them.
Well, so I think one of the central songs of the album is the Octopus song, because within the chorus there is the line, "I'm an alien from an alternate Earth," or "You're an alien from an alternate Earth," in reference to the octopus. And that song was inspired by the fact that I had a show at the Octopus Literary Salon, which was a bookstore cafe over in Oakland. Unfortunately, they closed down prior to the pandemic because of the whole financial trouble, but it was a great little venue. And at the same time, I'd come across a book called The Soul of an Octopus by Cy Montgomery, who's a naturalist who does books on various things like octopuses and turtles and so forth. And I found that to be a very inspiring book, because there are a lot of cool anecdotes about her interactions with different octopuses and their personalities, as well as this sort of beautiful found poetry of, like about the nature of consciousness and so forth. And so I decided, well, I'm going to write a song to promote this gig at the Octopus Literary Salon. And at the same time, I was listening a lot to a song by Nat King Cole called "You're Looking at Me." And I kind of liked the revelatory aspect of that song, where, he's talking about this person as if it's the third person, who was this person, et cetera. And then at the end, he reveals it's himself. And along with some of the chords, the jazz chords, which I sort of cribbed from and then went off in my own special direction, as I tend to, that became the basis for the song. And the title "Alien from an Alternate Earth" just sort of seemed perfect for this collection of jazz infused songs, because it is sort of an unusual combination, a little too jazzy for the folk playlists, not jazz enough for the purists. And it also came up together at a time when, I had all these songs that I had written prior to the pandemic, and it seemed like they were from another world. So they were sort of from this alternate Earth from back in the time when, people went to shows and enjoyed music that was live and so forth.
It almost sounds like it was like, before the pandemic hit, that was the alternate Earth.
Yeah, exactly. So, it seemed like, at a certain point, this collection of songs, which I'd started to see as a set that I wanted to have recorded together, they were mostly artifacts from a previous time. The exception being the opening song, "Till We Have Faces Again," which, obviously alludes to the pandemic, as well as the myth of Cupid and Psyche by way of C.S. Lewis. But once I came up with that song, I was like, well, that has to be the opener, because it sort of alludes to this previous time that this is all a part of. And then, the title also sort of refers to my own experience, because I come from the tech world and I'm still loosely tied to it. But at a certain point, I decided that, I really wanted to focus on music more. And so that has become much more of my life in terms of, doing the recording and also the promotion. And, there's a line in the Octopus song about playing in the lobby of a posh hotel. Well, that was me. I had this regular gig owing to this brainchild of one of the concierge at this hotel called the Hotel Carlton, and they would allow you to come in, play during their wine service, which was great because you got an audience that you didn't have to wrangle yourself. They all came for the wine, but they also left with the wine as well. So you kind of had a limited period of time in which you could potentially be the focus of other people's concerns, although more likely they were interested in conversing and hanging out. But it was good practice, a good time to sort of hone my skills as a live performer and that sort of thing. But obviously it was, a very different situation from what I've been doing previously, which was, working in an office and coding and that sort of thing. So, that's sort of this personal aspect and a twist that I think, gives the song some more meaning beyond just, having this interesting mix of, funny words like squirt and more heady discussions about the nature of consciousness.
So that's right. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you as well too that you wrote about octopuses. You also wrote about fish and everything. You got the albatross, and when I saw the albatross song, it made me think of that Monty Python skit, albatross. And it's like that's the bird nobody wants to deal with.
Yes, yes, it is unfortunately a bird that has had its reputation much maligned by a poem. Like the octopus song, it's one of these songs that came about because I was reading a book on natural history, a book called The Thing with Feathers by Noah Stryker, which talked about a lot of different birds, like the bowerbird and the wandering albatross. And that became a song that was actually a very popular song when I was out performing, because there's a aspect of it where other people get to join in and do these oohs and ahs that are part of the break in the middle of the song. And interestingly enough, it was also another case where it's an animal name plus the word song, and I used the words from the chorus, which the full chorus is, when you're with an albatross, don't you know you can't get lost? Because you're never truly lost when you are at home at sea. So home at sea just seemed like the natural, or at home at sea became the natural title for the album that was featured on. And likewise, the tradition even goes back to Fish from the Sky, which isn't quite an exact quote from the Fish song, but that's another popular song of mine. It's actually been recorded by another artist. His name is Ken Newman. He'll be releasing that as part of his upcoming album, which is coming out a couple days after mine. And it's, the first time I've had a song on vinyl. So, but that's also another one of these covers that has come out of the fact I do this E.G. Fest show where other local singer-songwriters cover my songs.
Oh yeah, the EG Fest. We forgot to mention that. Tell us about that, and how did that get started? It sounds like a really big event for you, the EG Fest.
Well, yeah, it's I back in the day, it's actually 30 years ago now, because Bob Dylan recently had his 60th anniversary for his recording career, but they had the 30th anniversary concert where all sorts of performers came and covered his songs. And so you had Mary Chapin Carpenter and Neil Young and this whole Lou Reed, all these different artists coming together and playing songs of Bob Dylan. And I've, as a songwriter, the idea of having other people play your songs is it's validating in a way. It's also feels like, yes, I've written a song that other people enjoy and want to interpret and share in their own way. And so I had this clever idea that I would ask people to do this for my birthday, because it was a gift that musicians could afford, and for the purpose of my birthday, would you cover one of my songs? And it was a little like, is this going to happen? Is this going to work out? But everybody had a great time the first time we did it. And it was actually the first one was at Bazaar Cafe, and I had some wonderful renditions of my own songs played back to me. And that's actually what led, at the first EG Fest, Sean Byron covered my song Lighthouse from the Edge of the World and started to incorporate that into his repertoire, and eventually decided to record it himself. And I managed to keep it going, doing it at different venues around the city here in San Francisco, at the Lost Church and the Hotel Utah, and another venue called the Secret Garden. It's a secret. That was a great performance. And it turned out to be this thing where first of all, it's very humbling to have to actually go and ask people to do this. A lot of the effort is finding out that people's summer plans in mid-August to last do not include coming to perform one of your songs for your birthday. So you just have to sort of churn through all the people and see if you can get enough people to do it. But people will do their own unique interpretations, come up with entirely different arrangements, and put a lot of effort into it. And it just becomes a community building event where other songwriters come together that are part of the Bay Area and share in this event. And some other traditions that go along with it, like the artwork is done by somebody from the local community as well. Usually an open mic host if I can swing it, if they're artistic enough. And so I've got some great artwork out of that. In fact, Mario Noce, who did the artwork for Alien from an Alternate Earth, he did the artwork for one of the EG Fests as well as playing in it. And the cake gets based on that artwork, so you get one of these printable cakes. And
nice, you make me hungry for one.
And it's fun, and some people just sort of muddle through as best they can. It's not something where I expect people to put a lot of effort into it, and then other people do these sort of grandiose interpretations. And so it's really cool. Obviously, it's become more of a mostly annual event because we didn't do it during the pandemic. But I did manage to do it this past August, and it happened again. And I'm always kind of amazed that I get people to participate in this crazy idea of mine. But it is, it's gratifying and humbling, and just sort of, if nothing else, it keeps me from thinking about the fact that I'm aging. I'm not having a birthday, I'm having another EG Fest.
And of course, it's celebrating in a great way too. And of course, you also getting people doing the bossa nova. And I noticed you had some of the app music. And tell us more about that. And what got you into doing a bossa nova record?
Well, I mean, that was actually largely the fact that I had a producer who was very into Brazilian music and wanted to have some variety in the different arrangements. Chris McGrew, who produced the record, I met as a result of somebody else inviting me to do backing vocals for their album. And so that was at Hyde Street Studios. And, that's where I met Chris, and also the arranger, Kevin Seal, who plays piano on this album. And I met them, and I thought, oh, these seem like the guys to do this album, because they had the right sort of vibe together as a group, along with the recording engineer Liam. And Chris also runs sound at the Black Cat, which is a jazz cafe in San Francisco, and they seem to have the right ideas in terms of the roles that musicians play. And so it actually came together quite quickly. We did the recording over Labor Day. And of course, I'm a fan of bossa nova music. Definitely love the Stan Getz albums, and Girl from Ipanema and all of that.
Oh, that's my favorite. Oh my God. Yes, that's a great song.
And he decided it would be good to do that song Till We Have Faces again in the bossa nova style. And interestingly enough, it wasn't the first time I've had a producer who said, we should do this as a bossa nova, because I had a song, All I Can Share Is Photos, and that got recorded with the bossa nova style. And believe it or not, it was Mario Noce again who played guitar on that. He's a very good guitarist, and we brought him in to record the guitar part, and he did some lovely stuff that we ended up incorporating as solo material, as well as the backing guitar track. So as I said, it's sort of taking all comers, and I think the Brazilian textures add a lot of interesting nuance to the songs. In addition to Till We Have Faces again, there's also some Brazilian percussion elements in some of the other songs. In particular, there's one called Fallen Out of Love, where the whole rhythm changes up for the last verse. And so there's sort of this break and a little bit of silence, and then the percussion comes in and changes up the rhythm, and you get that. And then there's also a little bit of vocalese that's reminiscent of bossa nova at the end of This Infertile Valley, which undergoes a similar rhythmic change, because it was one of those songs where it's like, well, sometimes I play it like this, sometimes I play it like that. And so it was the difference between doing it 6/8 versus 4/4. And it's sort of like the way George Martin ended up dealing with the two different versions of Strawberry Fields. It's like, okay, we'll put them together. And so so you've got a lot of that going on with the songs. And I think it adds a lot of different texture and nuance to the album.
That's quite interesting too. And of course, we'll talk about your upcoming single, Braveheart Luna from Alien from an Alternate Earth. We'll get to that in just 1 minute. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international war-ring author Mia Molson's The of Missing, available on Amazon, paperback, and ebook. We'll be back with the multi-talented San Francisco-based singer-songwriter E.G. Phillips after this time out. We're back with San Francisco-based singer-songwriter, multi-talented E.G. Phillips here on the Mike Wagner Show with his group Ducks with Pants, and we talked about Alien from an Alternate Earth, also other releases, Fish from the Sky, At Home, at Sea, and more. You also got a new single out that's going to be coming out called Braveheart Luna, and tell us more about that.
Yes. Well, Braveheart Luna, first of all, the phrase Braveheart, that actually comes from my affinity for Doctor Who, the British sci-fi show.
Yes, I love Doctor Who. Off the TARDIS.
Yeah. So I was a fan growing up in the early 80s, to show my age. They just brought in the fifth Doctor, Peter Davison, and he had this phrase that he'd occasionally say to his companion, Tegan, Braveheart, Tegan. And that became sort of a catchphrase that they used throughout his tenure. And for some reason, that was in the back of my mind when, I was trying to console one of my fellow singer-songwriter friend of mine whose name is Luna, occasionally despairs via her Twitter account about the world. And so I just sort of ad hoc, I said, Braveheart Luna. And that became a song. And I had some fun just, playing around with the lyrics, sort of playing off the idea that maybe I was chatting with the moon, and giving a shout out to the color mauve, which doesn't get nearly enough press. That is also an oblique Doctor Who reference, believe it or not. And and just compositionally, it was fun. I was doing something called a line cliche, where you have the same chord, but you change the bass line going up, which is a very Beatles thing to do. And it was one of the songs I just decided I really enjoyed playing. It became sort of a staple of the sets I would play at the Hotel Carlton, where I needed a big closer, and so it kind of got pumped up and amped up speed wise, and became one of these things. It was a great set closer because it kind of caught people's attention as it built to its crescendo. And so I knew it needed to be on the album, and it needed to be the closer for the album. I knew it needed to be a big band song. So as part of the album, we brought in a fellow by the name of Rich Armstrong, who's a very talented multi-instrumentalist, and he actually did a big band arrangement for that, along with Daniel Cazares. They just banged out all the parts for that in one afternoon, and we had time to spare so they could add horns to the other songs, like the Octopus song and Till We Have Faces Again. Quite a lot of work out of them in a short amount of time. And it's just, it's got a lot of energy. It was one of those, I was pushing the band on, we got to make this go faster, even though the demo recording was a little slower, much to my producer's chagrin. But it's just got this energy and life to it that I really enjoy. And so with this classic big band arrangement that comes in right from the get-go, you hear the blat of the horns, and you get the baritone sax doing some hits underneath the lyrics. And I really enjoyed it quite a bit. I did a lyric video where I decided to take some public domain footage and use that as running in the background in kind of a loop, vaguely coordinated with the music. It just sort of worked out timing wise, but that, it's a fun song. I really enjoy it, and I hope people will take a listen. I've got a lot of great feedback from people who've taken a listen to it, and like I said, it's a great closer for the album. And the thing about it that I really like is, after I hear that song, I want to go back to the beginning, which is Till We Have Faces Again, and start it again, which, that's the coup de grace as far as a closer for an album. I wanted to go back to the beginning.
And certainly amazing as well, too. Where can we find your latest Braveheart Luna, also latest release, Alien from an Alternate Earth, and all your music at? Where can we find them?
Well, I am, of course, on all the streaming services. You can find me as E.G. Phillips on Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon, and egphillips.bandcamp.com. You can also find me through my website, which is duckswithpants.com, and you can find me on all the social media as @duckswithpants. And once again, that's multiple ducks with the pants. not necessarily in them. So yeah, give me some spins, add me to your playlist, share me with your friends, and you know, the full album comes out April 22nd, which happens to be Earth Day, or Alien from an Alternate Earth Day, if you are so inclined.
Or long lines of Doctor Who as well, too, having a little Braveheart. So we're here with singer-songwriter from San Francisco, E.G. Phillips, here on the Mike Wagner Show. E.G., a very big thank you for your time. You've been totally amazing, and looking forward to having you again soon. Just a few more minutes here. And who do you consider what can we expect from you in 2022 and beyond, E.G.?
Well, I do actually have another EP in the works. I actually started it before I started this album, but it's a collection of songs that I've been working on with the same producer who worked on my previous EP, Nashville Recordings Volume 1. His name is Kenny Schick, and he is based out of East Nashville. And so he does most of the accompanying tracks, and then there's the vocal parts. And there's actually a little crossover from Alien from an Alternate Earth as one of the backing singers on This Infertile Valley will also be on one of the songs on this new EP, which is called Mental Maps. And truth be told, I sort of see them as parts 1 and 2 of the same set of songs. It's just that one felt like it was more folk rock, which is what Mental Maps will be, versus one was more jazz, which is what Alien from an Alternate Earth will be. So trying to wrap up all the production on that and get the songs mastered so I can continue my release cadence, because Spotify wants us just to be content machines, keep pumping out new music. But that'll be coming out, and I'm starting to be more active playing out a bit. I have actually one more performance at the Marsh Theater in San Francisco on Valencia Street as part of Monday Night Marsh, sort of dipping my toes into the water in this sort of smaller venue, but it's a great little theater, and I'm part of an ensemble of some other performers starting to put together their sets. And, I'm going to try and play out more, get out to the local farmers markets and try and get further abroad. I'm a little disappointed I didn't get to South by Southwest this year, but, in the future, try and get out to go further afield to places like Austin and Nashville and, promote the record the old fashioned way.
Oh yeah, and that's the best way to go as well too, and take some ducks with you too, and have a little duck soup to go with it. So, and who do you consider biggest influence in your career, E.G.?
Well, there's obviously, Bob Dylan has been a big influence on me, but I also have to give a shout out to my college buddy, John Willicke, who was the one who encouraged me to get a guitar and start playing. And that's led to me, playing as well. I don't know. I'm not the greatest instrumentalist in the world, and sometimes I'd rather just delegate all of that if I can, but it certainly has led me down this path to creating music and, combining not only my love for literature and lyrics and writing, but also, just experimenting around and doing stuff that, one of the more gratifying aspects of this past album is just how much the other musicians, these professionals, these pros that I brought in, how much they enjoyed, playing these tunes that I'd created.
That's certainly amazing. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Well, I think it's one of these things you keep doing it because it's something you love doing. And I think, that comes out in my album, one of the songs, Ode to the Wild Horse Cafe, which is a sort of reflection on, this, the refrain is a little bit of magic in the middle of nowhere. And I think we take joy in finding these bits of magic and being able to share them. And, it's a tough road as far as getting other people to hear your stuff and share it. Because once you get over your own inhibitions about how, oh my gosh, what will people think of this and what will they think of me? Then you have to cross the next boundary, is actually getting other people to care. And that can be very disheartening. And I guess the best advice I have for that is Braveheart.
Yes, brave heart indeed. You can fill in whatever you want. So big thanks to Doctor Who for that. So once again, singer-songwriter from San Francisco, E.G. Phillips here on the Mike Wagner Show. E.G., a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Make sure you keep us up to date. Keep in touch. We'd love to have you back in 2022 and beyond. Once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your works?
Find me on the internets as Ducks with Pants at duckswithpants.com. And you can find me on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, all the places, all the time for your streaming pleasure. If you just look for me as e.g.phillips. Though I've also created a playlist on Spotify. This is Ducks with Pants. So you'll be able to find me one way or the other.
We certainly will do so. Once again, E.G., a very big thank you for your time. You've been totally amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon. Make sure you keep us up to date. Keep in touch. We'd love to have you back. We wish you all the best, and you've got a great future ahead of you.
Thank you so much, sir.